Hello friends, this is a video for the month of July of the year 2024. While NATO countries, something happened. While NATO countries are sacrificing Ukrainians and still waging their proxy war against Russia, and while they are talking about how sanctions are destroying Russian economy, a summit has held in St. Petersburg where a new world was being created without dollar and without colonizers. The summit in St. Petersburg was certainly the most important event in June 2024. Watch my video for the month of June if you wish to see what we were talking about, and then you will know why this summit happened at the right time. Of course, the most important event is not the summit. The most important event always is if people are dying, and it is happening. Of course, innocent people are dying now in Ukraine, in Palestine, as well as where in the world, but I now wanted to emphasize the importance of the summit. At the summit, it was shown that a new world is being created in which countries will cooperate in a new way. While the European Union was not presented, it is very, very important. Also, more than 50 countries have applied to join BRICS in the fall, and we will see what their new alliances will look like. But it is definitely clear that in June we had opportunity to see who goes to the future and who stays in the past. The stupidity of European Union politicians are immeasurable, also their egocentrism. What to say about their summit, which was the summit of G7, which took place in Italy shortly after the one in St. Petersburg, where they systematically humiliated each other and also humiliated themselves in front of the Pope. There are a lot of videos from that meeting. Watch that videos just to know where you live in which civilization you live in. It looks, of course, a little bit like a madhouse, but also one can laugh at this. And also this like G7 with their friends, they continued in a similar way in Switzerland a few days later in their own style to present the destruction of the culture they belong to. So NATO countries are now collecting their guns and other whatever they have, looking for victims who will go with them further to attack Russia. And Russia was attacked now, I'm recording this in the end of June, and recently was an attack, terrorist attack in Russia. So they're preparing, but there are few people who want to fight for their interests. And of course, there are very few of those who want to go with them to the nuclear attack. However, the representatives of the failed civilization need war at all costs, because someone needs to be blamed for their centuries-old dirty deeds. And the best would be, of course, if that could be Russia. This is their speciality. So that is why what is being prepared from July onwards can be staged as if Russia had carried out a nuclear or similar attack. So at the moment, no one must rush. Both of the sides, collective West and Russia, are in the state of great tension. And nobody wants to be the first one, because that one will be the one who will be to blame. But we will see. Things are extremely complex now. And we can say that from July 2024 until the beginning of June 2025, this great tension will happen, and many things also with that tension. And this is definitely the key period for the final events. After that we will really be in the new era. So I believe that everything will be done to avoid the nuclear war, But July is very critical because then something extraordinary can happen, really, in July itself. I talked about this now, about June and July immediately, because I wanted to connect these 2 months. But later on, I will talk more now about July month itself. So on the 6th of July, there is a new moon in Cancer. We will say later Crab. We will say for this sign, we will use the name Crab, not Cancer. So on the 6th of July is new moon in Crab sign, and full moon is in Capricorn on the 21st or 22nd, and which is interesting because this is now the second full moon in Capricorn. Sun is until the 22nd in the sign of Crab, then it's in Leo. Mercury is most of the month in Leo. Venus until 11th in the sign of Crab and then in Leo. Mars until the 20th in Taurus, then in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, also Neptune joins Saturn now, and from the 2nd of July Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. Then Uranus is still in Taurus and Pluto is already retrograde in Aquarius. We see now we have more and more this big planets retrograde, which means that now we are going in the phase of integrating something that happened. There are many significant aspects in early July, before new moon, but I cannot list them all. Many things are happening. And actually during the whole month there are a lot of significant aspects between planets. It's interesting that mainly they are positive. And on July the 2nd there is a trine between Mercury and Neptune in the water signs, which is quite pleasant combination that awakens feelings and so-called emotional intelligence. Very significant for the water signs, Pisces, Crabs and Scorpios, so they can use this day for some prosperous events or whatever like that. On the same day, Venus and Saturn are in trine. And one would say, oh, it's a wonderful day to start new relationship, eventually some new business, but it's not that good because Venus and Saturn are in weak positions here, but still quite good and very good actually if somebody wants to clean up love memories and to finish with the past some relationships, not to establish new one really. So opposition with Pluto are happening this month. It is very interesting because this is going to be big theme in July, oppositions and other aspects with Pluto, but mainly these oppositions. So now many personal planets will enter the sign of Leo as every year. But it's interesting that all of those planets, before they enter Leo sign, they have contact with Pluto. They create the opposition with Pluto, which is 180 degree aspect, which is quite tough, can be very tough. So first on the 3rd of July, Mercury opposites Pluto on 1 degree, Leo 1 degree Aquarius. And we can define this aspect like arrogant words. Then on July 12th, Venus in the 1st degree of Leo makes opposition to Pluto on the 1st degree of Aquarius. Let's define this like arrogance in relationship. And further, on July 21st, the Sun on 0 degree of Leo makes the opposition to Pluto, which is 0 degree of Aquarius, which can be arrogant use of power. And conclusion is what? Arrogancy flourishes in July. It is really like that. Pardon, something with my throat. So how will this arrogancy manifest in the world? We will see. By the way, all the mentioned days, so July the 3rd, the 12th and the 23rd are challenging in every way. So it is better to avoid making decisions on those days as well as solving any important issues. The problem here is actually retrograde Pluto, not these other planets, but the retrograde Pluto in Aquarius, which is talking about collective energy. So everything that happens now with these oppositions with Pluto can actually affect all of the world, all of us. It doesn't stay just like individually. No, it affects everybody. And they announced the imprisonment of people, again, their lockdowns, because of the heat and the climate changes. And this heat, of course, they cook in their oven laboratories and they spread the heat everywhere in the world. But they want to make people to believe that this is the climate change. So, of course, they can repeat it if they want, but I don't think that they will be really successful. But it is possible that also with these oppositions with Pluto, some other events can happen which can affect entire collective or can be important for the collective consciousness, for the growing of collective consciousness. Excuse me, I need to bring water. I'm here again. So on the 6th of July, it's a new moon in the sign of Crab. What exactly does it brings to the sign of Crab? It depends on the personal horoscopes, of course, but I talked about that in some of my videos that I have, but not in English, unfortunately. And I analyze this, but also for every other sign, because new moon is very important. And we all have one new moon and one full moon in our sign in a year, and we should follow these energies because they create pattern for the half of a year at least. So the new moon is most significant to these Crab people who were born in the second decade, and especially for those who have personal planets around the 14 or exactly on the 14th degree of Capricorn, of Crab. For them, this new moon will be especially important. Regardless of the dramatic events in the world, it's a very, very harmonious new moon, which actually predicts harmonious 6-month period. During that period, many Crab people will start new relationships, romantic and otherwise, and will probably be more dynamic than before, some maybe even too much dynamic. And of course, they should be careful. It's never everything positive. And here also we have the opposition of Mercury and Pluto that we mentioned already, that brings arrogant words. So Crabs should pay attention to that in the next 6 months. Also others who have planets in Cancer. On July the 8th and the 10th, there are quite harmonious aspects between Mercury and the Sun, with Jupiter and Saturn on the other side, which should be used for business and negotiations, creativity, writing, and other things that we need to do. So 8th and the 10th, excellent days. And it's quite okay until the 16th of July. And then on the 16th of July, Mars is in exact conjunction with Uranus, which is already there, making conjunction with the star Algol. Star Algol is now in our time at the 26th degree of Taurus, which is not the worst thing. But the 26th degree itself is not too critical, I said, and everything that we say in later about this conjunction of Uranus and Algol, it can be very dramatic, but let's remember that the degree where they meet, where the Algol is in our time, is not that bad, according to some Indian astrologers. So already the next day, on the 17th of July, Mars leaves this degree, but Uranus stays there. And it stays there until the August the 6th. Then Uranus is retrograde, and it returns to the same 26th degree where this Algol star is on the September 28th and stays there until the October 29th. This is the second return to the same star. And it will be there the third time to that 26th degree. That will happen on the April 26th. You see all the time the same number, 2024, and it will remain there until the May 12th, 2025. So we can actually say that Uranus is in conjunction with the star Algol from the end of June 2024 to the end of May 2025, let's take it like that, almost all year. And that is the trouble. The trouble is that this conjunction will last too long, because Uranus will be retrograde exact in that star and go here and there, you know, going back and returning to that star. I already talked about the conjunction in the annual video, which has the name Bash Chelik and the Fight of the Dragons. It is on the YouTube, so please watch that video if you want to understand what is happening. It is the year of the dragon in Chinese calendar, and it is going to be a big fight. I also talk about the star of Algol, which has another name, Gorgon Medusa, in my video called Eclipses, Lunar Nodes on the Taurus Scorpio axis that I recorded in the year 2022. Also, there is a short version of one video, and the name of that video is Uranus in conjunction with Algol. So there are many videos about this topic. Check them if you want to know what is the meaning of this conjunction. It is interesting that this conjunction actually is triggering the star Algol, which is scary, because this other symbolism of that star, Gorgona Medusa, represents this women who were with the snakes in the head, and everybody was afraid of them, and it was very hard to win them, because they were so scary that nobody could look at them. I described this in the mentioned videos, but I just want to add that the trouble of our world is that the Western civilization suppressed completely female principle. And that female principle is now coming for them, and it works through their subconscious. So basically they are now using rituals, and which can be called witchcraft, as the same as they called in the centuries before women who had some special, special, what is the word for that? I don't know, ability to heal or to see things. They were killing them, you know, and now this subconscious is coming to kill them in a way, because they're doing sort of rituals that are quite destructive. About the suppression of the female principle in that Western culture, I also talked in the video, which has the name Male and Female Principle, Yin and Yang. I recorded that video, I think, in March last year, 2023, in Sri Lanka. You will find it on the YouTube if you want to see what is that female principle that is now appearing, you know, and for the revenge, you know, for all of those in that Western country who were suppressing it. I'm not going to speak now in details about that, what Algol means. You have all of those videos to check it. But it is important to know that Uranus was in conjunction with the star Algol during the Second World War. And then mass destruction occurred and many human victims fell. And there is no doubt that we live now in the time of Neo-fascism. Although, of course, it was never eradicated completely, and it is maybe now reaching its culmination. Of course, now there is something different, that now they are actively accusing those who were fighting against fascism that they are fascists, you know, like Serbs are now fascists or Russians are now fascists for them, which were actually nations and people and states who were fighting and give a lot of lives to save the world from fascism, you know. But whatever it is, now we are in the last phase of this, and let's hope that these positive forces in the world will finally destroy fascism and all other similar, actually, movements, let's call them. It is not only a problem that now the struggle is happening between Russia and collective West, but the problem is also in the Middle East. And many people do not know that Israel actually has a nuclear system that in the event of an attack of Israel immediately sends nuclear bombs in various directions. Of course, I don't know exactly how that works, but I listened what some analysts were talking about, and I guess this is true, and maybe this is the reason why they allow them to do what they do, I mean Israelis, because it could be very dangerous to do something extremely to them. And you maybe remember that we talked in November 2023 that eclipses that happen in October 2023 actually predict the end of Israel. But it was prepared that the Israelis move to Ukraine, which it seems now it cannot be possible. So it is a big struggle. Also, Egypt asked China for the help to defense itself. That was somewhere on the internet. Some people learned about that and said to us. And we also know that Turkey wants to join BRICS and maybe will leave NATO. So a lot of things are happening there. And also in Southeast Asia, as we saw, Russian president was there recently. And we also know that if America wants to attack China, it will of course not do it directly, as they will never directly attack Russia. They will lead proxy war against China also through some smaller country that can be, for example, South Korea or some other. So now everything heats up. It's like in the pressure cooker, and the final conflict is inevitable, and we will see how that will happen. The outcome of all of this can be similar to that in fairy tales or in the myths. Can be something completely unexpected. The mystery of renewal was many times in fairy tales and myths explained. That mystery of renewal of life or empire or of trust always happen in some somehow fascinating and unexpected way. There is a very good book dealing with the shadow in fairy tales, written by Maria Luisa von Franz. She was one of the most famous Jung's successors. Her analyses show that sometimes the conflict is completely resolved, but sometimes it is only modified and transferred to another level, which depends on the level of communication between conscious and unconscious files in the collective. And it is very interesting that the salvation of conflict has very often unexpected moment, which comes from nowhere and often is very positive actually. And of course, you know, since we said that we live in the year of the dragon, which is very dramatic year, something can happen like in the fairy tales and myths. I explained that in my yearly video. It is certain some unexpected moment that will follow the conjunction of Uranus with Algol. You know, we can be sure about that. So we'll see how. While potentially great destruction is brewing, many are talking still about golden age. So this golden age is some sort of a myth of our time. It is, we can say, archaeofuturistic myth. And it does not appear in our time by chance. It appeared because subconsciously we know that it can be very good, at least in one part of the world. Something very good can happen. This archaeofuturistic myth contains elements of awakened humanity, liberated colonies, restoration of nature, life without material slavery, and like that. These idealistic representations of the future, although very naive, are nevertheless significant because our collective consciousness tells us that the resolution is possible, even in some sort of a painless resolution. That unusual outcome that is suggested to us through our subconscious will of course not be rational. It will happen somehow completely irrationally, or we can say highly symbolic. So we'll see that, I guess, during this 1 year period. It is also interesting that after the exact conjunction of Uranus and Mars with the star Algol, we have several very harmonious aspects. For example, on July 18 we have two. One, Sun in sextile with Uranus, which says about positive turn, and then Mercury trine Chiron, which is the healing struggle. The struggle, but which has a healing effect. And also very interesting, on the July 21st, Mars in trine with Pluto. Mars will be already in Gemini and Pluto is in Aquarius. Very good aspect actually, which we can define as a tactical reversal. On July 21st itself starts full moon in Capricorn. Some will say that it's on 21st, some on 22nd, but it's somewhere there in between. And also on those days, on this day, we have other harmonious aspects, but Mercury will be in square with Uranus, which is trouble. This square creates great difficulties in communication, and here is the already mentioned arrogance, appearing also during the full moon. So something have to stop because of the arrogance of one side. So in June and July we have a full moon in Capricorn, almost on the same date, the 22nd. And that's a very special thing because every full moon in Capricorn is very political actually. Someone gave someone a chance to finish the previous policy, give up a previous position, or give up of a social program that has served in its purpose and it does not serve anymore, but it is likely that the chance was not understood in the right way. Of course, that this is the symbolic of this full moon is saying something about that what Russian president did. He made an offer to the collective West now at the end of June, a few days before I'm recording this, and he offered the peace, and he said that Russia should keep the territories on the east side of Ukraine, and Ukraine can have everything. The rest can be Ukrainian, it can remain as the state, and he only suggested that Ukraine remained as a neutral country, not to enter NATO. This is the only thing that he was asked for. And of course the other side refused, because they have to refuse everything that Russia offers, and now consequences are coming. And this will be now something completely different. This was refused, and now actually Russia will take whatever they can. So the ruler of this full moon is Saturn. Watch this. And Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. It is even in the last retrograde phase in transit through the sign of Pisces, which is very significant. We will face the end, maybe in the next 6 months even. Saturn will be retrograde again in Pisces, but it will be after its enter into the sign of Aries, which is something different. So this is the last important retrograde period in Pisces. If you want to know what Saturn in Pisces means, watch my video, Saturn in Pisces Historical Parallels. I explained there the meaning of this transit. It always brings some sort of dissolution of all social and political structures. It often occurs during revolution, some sort of reforms, signifying the collapse of the old system. Namely, this full moon brings some misunderstanding regarding the end of the old system. It's also there. Because while the June full moon was on the first degree of Capricorn, the July one is on the 29th of Capricorn. So we have the first and the last degree. The first gives the chance for a new beginning. And the second full moon in Capricorn speaks of the definite end. According to some astrologers, the symbolism of this 29th degree of Capricorn is the arrow that flies and falls. So somebody had very high ambitions to reach something, but that was not possible. He could not reach that, and the arrow falls down. So over-ambitious. This is the idea of the second full moon. The second full moon in Capricorn is very significant for all cardinal signs, namely Aries, Libra, Crabs, and Capricorn. Some old models of living have been overcome for them, and the new ones will slowly be created during next 6 months. Which can be actually very good, because it's time for that. Everybody who accepts that this is the time for that, he will be fine. Retrograde Saturn and Neptune now together in Pisces can also foreshadow unpleasant events, because they repeat something what has already been seen, and of course can be about restricting, banishing, and imprisoning people. Neptune in Pisces has to do something with refugees also. We already feel what they were preparing, because now when I record this video at the end of June, we have some like extreme weather, very hot at some places and extreme storms in others. Of course, I mean, they can arrange their lockdowns again because of the climate change, but I don't think that will be possible, because their system is failing, But we will see. Maybe even they can do it in some countries. Of course, not for the whole world as they did it in 2020 year. So Saturn is in the last retrograde phase in Pisces, which will last from June 30th to November 16th. If they manage to repeat some mass hysteria, it can be in this period. But it could be the last indeed, and I'm saying they did also some experiment with locking down people because of the heat in England. It seems that they use England now for many experiments, but maybe some countries, some cities in Germany also, and maybe somewhere else that I don't know, but I said I don't believe that they will be successful in this. By the way, retrograde Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are very important to all of those who have planets in this sign, especially those who have planets in the second and third decade of the sign of Pisces. So between the 10th and 29th degree of Pisces. Pisces themselves mature, they grow up in a way, they learn about themselves and their past. They should now learn how to forgive to themselves and to others, and can continue doing that until the mid of November. One would say that this is very karmic colored transit, and it's really true, because Saturn is the karmic planet, and Pisces is the last sign. This is like the end of some karmic experiences, which actually can be very nice for people, but it is very tough to process that. Many people don't know what they are processing actually, because nobody is teaching us about the law which exists in this world, that this is the law of the spiritual growth. There are spiritual laws, the same as the laws that physics describes, but nobody teaches us about this. So many people don't know what they're processing now through this transit. But I can say that the rule is very clear with this. One needs to be economical with his time, money, and energy. And also needs to be very humble and disciplined. If not, diseases and challenges can come and threaten these people. This also further means that it is better for a person to limit himself than to wait for Saturn to come to limit himself, And this is actually the way how somebody will overcome, even subconsciously, some karmic debts. So I wish you luck with everything, and with Saturn also, and with these conjunctions on the 16th of July and later. And that is all for now for the video for July 2024. Of course, you can order personal consultations with me based on astropsychology, spiritual astrology, or the method that I use. The name of it is Change of the Code, Change of Perception. This is the method that I have developed through Theta Healing and Jungian psychology, which helps me to work with myself and my clients also, and to remove some old patterns of behaving, old programs that are somehow overcome. On my page symbolicthinking.net you will find newsletter in English. I also recommend to everybody who watches these videos to buy my Horoscope online astrology school, which is made for the beginners, and there I explain astrology through nature, and it's very, very good to go through this and to learn the basic of astrology. Of course, you can do that by using books and different other materials. If you like the video, like it and subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for that. And I wish you luck during the stormy events. I wish you pleasant July days, no matter what is happening. And see you soon.